Hello, everyone. My name is Trevor Galley, and for my local water issue, I'm going to be talking about the human health and political issue of the Freedom Industries MCHM spill and the West Virginia legislators' response. First, I'm going to go over the Freedom Industries MCHM spill, and then I'm going to talk about a couple different bills that the West Virginia Senate has passed and the legislative rule package that West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection passed in response to the Freedom Industries spill. So the Freedom Industries MCHM spill occurred on January 9th, 2014, when a storage tank at Freedom Industries leaked nearly 11,000 gallons of a mixture of 90% weight crude 4-methyl cyclohexane methanol, or MCHM, with nearly 10% by weight mixture of propylene glycol phenyl ether, or PPH, and dipropylene glycol phenyl ether, or DIPPH, into the Elk River. The spill got into the Elk River because there were two holes in the storage tank that formed via corrosion, and then the secondary containment wall designed to control leaks from the AST also had cracks and holes from disrepair, which allowed the leak to get outside the containment structure. The chemical mixture then drained into the gravel and soil surrounding the tank and into the Elk River. So the Elk River provides the drinking water source for most of Charleston, West Virginia. And as you can see in the map on the right, the far right dot is Freedom Industries, where the spill occurred. And then you can trace the orange line down into Charleston, where to the second black dot, and that is the West Virginia American Water Facility. And West Virginia American Water serves about 93,000 customers, or 300,000 residents in the Charleston, West Virginia area. You can see there the area affected in the orange in the far right map that's a little more extended than the close-up showing the actual spill. When the MCHM got to the West Virginia American Water Facility, their filtration and treatment processes were unable to remove the MCHM from the drinking water supply, and they shut down their water supply for the next 4 to 9 days for all of their customers. Now, when public health officials ended up reviewing emergency room visits based on this spill from 10 local hospitals around the Charleston, West Virginia area, they found that patients had symptoms such as nausea, rashes, vomiting, abdominal pain, and diarrhea from exposure to the water via ingestion, inhalation, or skin contact. The hospitals could never confirm that the MCHM spill was the cause of these symptoms, but they matched descriptions of MCHM exposure hazards. Gary Southern, the president of Freedom Industries at the time of the spill, ended up pleading guilty to 3 charges and was sentenced to 1 month in prison, 6 months supervision, and a $20,000 fine in connection with the site conditions which were responsible for the spill. Those charges included negligent discharge of a pollutant, causing a discharge of refuse, and violating a condition of a Clean Water Act permit. In response to the MCHM spill from Freedom Industries, the West Virginia Senate passed Senate Bill 373 in March of 2014, or the Above Ground Storage Tank Act. which is section 2231 through 2230.25 of the West Virginia Administrative Code. They defined an above-ground storage tank as a device made to contain an accumulation of more than 1,320 gallons of fluids that are liquids at standard temperature and pressure, which is constructed primarily of non-carbon materials, including wood, concrete, steel, plastic, or fiberglass reinforced plastic, which provides structural support more than 90% capacity, which is above the surface of the ground, but does not include any process vessel. The term above-ground storage tanks includes stationary devices, which are permanently affixed, and mobile devices, which remain in one location on a continuous basis for 60 or more days. It includes all ancillary above-ground pipes and dispensing systems up to the first point of isolation, and all ancillary underground pipes and dispensing systems connected to the above-ground containers to the first point of isolation. At the time of this Senate bill, the following devices were not considered ASTs: process vessels, railroad freight cars, barges and boats, and swimming pools. The Above Ground Storage Tank Act instructed West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection to inventory all ASTs in existence in West Virginia to identify the ownership of the AST location, the date of installation, the capacity of the AST, fluids stored in the ASTs, and the distances from the ASTs to the nearest public water intake. They also instructed DEP to develop a regulatory program for all new and existing ASTs to include some of the following: performance standards for design, construction, installation, maintenance, corrosion detection, release detection and prevention, and secondary containment to ensure the structural integrity of the storage tank and the secondary containment. Requirements for maintaining a leak detection system, inventory control systems, or a method designed to identify releases from the ASTs. Requirements for maintaining records of any monitoring or leak detection systems. Requirements for early detection of releases and immediate reporting of releases. Requirements for the closure of ASTs and remediation to prevent future releases. And requirements for the certification of installation, removal, or inspection of above ground storage tanks, leak detection systems, and secondary containment by a qualified registered professional engineer or by an individual certified to perform tank inspections by the American Petroleum Institute. The bill also instructed DEP to create an AST operating fee structure and to require annual inspections of all ASTs. A spill prevention and response plan was also required for each facility with an above ground storage tank, and the spill prevention and response plan, or SPRP, must have been updated every 3 years and include safety data sheets for the fluids stored in the ASTs, responsibilities for developing and implementing the SPRP. The SPRP must specify the preventative maintenance programs for all the ASTs at the facility and detail the specific response actions that the AST facility should make upon the release of fluids from an AST at the facility. And this picture here on the right is just Chemours Washington Works plant in Parkersburg, just to show you a facility that might have 20 or 30 ASTs, and their SPRP would be pretty lengthy. In March of 2015, West Virginia Senate and the whole legislature actually passed Senate Bill 423, and that modified the definition of the of the AST in the Above Ground Storage Tank Act include some more exemptions, such as tanks containing drinking water, surface water, groundwater, non-contact cooling water, or any water stored for fire or emergency, tanks containing food or food-grade materials for human or animal consumption that are regulated under the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, tanks holding wastewater that actively are being treated and processed, any pipeline facilities, gathering lines, or interstate pipeline facilities regulated under the Natural Gas Pipeline Safety Act of 1968 or the Hazardous Liquid Pipeline Safety Act of 1979, and any electrical equipment such as transformers, circuit breakers, and voltage regulator transformers. West Virginia Senate Bill 423 also classified above ground storage tanks as either level 1, level 2, or registered and not regulated storage tanks under the Above Ground Storage Tank Act. A level 1 AST was classified as a above ground storage tank located within a zone of critical concern, a source water protection area, or a public service water influenced by groundwater supply area. A zone of critical concern is a corridor along streams within a watershed that are close to the surface water intake and warrant scrutiny because of the potential for pollutants to contaminate the intake. The length of the zone of critical concern is based on a 5-hour time of travel of water in the streams to the intake. The width of the zone of critical concern is 1,000 feet measured horizontally from each bank of the principal stream and 500 feet measured horizontally from each bank of the tributaries draining into the principal stream. A good example of the area of the zone of critical concern is in the map of the Elk River on the right. You can actually see where the Freedom Industries leak was and where the West Virginia American Water Facility intake is. So any above ground storage tank that meets the definition of a above ground storage tank would be a level 1 storage tank in any area shaded in green. Any above ground storage tank that contains a substance defined as hazardous by section 101.14 of the CERCLA or on EPA's consolidated list of lists under EPCRA, CERCLA, and the Clean Air Act, also known as the list of lists, in a concentration of 1% or greater are automatically level 1 ASTs, or any AST 50,000 gallons or greater in capacity, no matter the location, is also a level 1 AST. Level 2 ASTs are ASTs that are located in a zone of peripheral concern but do not meet any of the criterias to meet level 1. The length of a zone of peripheral concern is based on an additional 5-hour time of travel of water in the streams beyond the perimeter of the zone of critical concern. So that creates a protection zone of 10 hours above the water intake. The width of the zone of peripheral concern is 1,000 feet measured horizontally from each bank of the principal stream and 500 feet measured horizontally from each bank of the tributaries draining into the principal stream. And then any other AST that does not meet level 1 or level 2 would be classified as a registered not regulated AST under the AST Act. Based on West Virginia Senate Bill 423, West Virginia DEP passed the following legislative rules: West Virginia 47 CSR 63, the above ground storage tank rule, 47 CSR 64, the above ground storage tank fee rule, and 47 CSR 65, the AST administrative rule. The effective date of these rules was August 1st, 2016. Any level 1 or level 2 above ground storage tank was defined as a regulated AST in the legislative above ground storage tank rule. And then any registered, not regulated AST just needed to be registered with the DEP in their online tank registry system, but was not subject to any rules within 47 CSR 63. In March of 2017, the West Virginia legislature passed West Virginia House Bill 2811, which included a few more exemptions to the definition of above ground storage tank in the Above Ground Storage Tank Act. And those exemptions included tanks with a capacity of 210 barrels or less that contain brine water or hydrocarbon liquids and are not located in a zone of critical concern, and tanks with a capacity of 10,000 gallons or less containing sodium chloride water for roadway snow and ice pre-treatment. So the 210 barrel or less classification for the brine water or hydrocarbon liquid tanks is kind of an important specification, because in my work as an environmental consultant for clients I work with in the oil and gas industry, I typically see three main above ground storage tank sizes in the field: 100 barrel ASTs, 210 barrel ASTs, and 400 barrel ASTs. The top picture is a picture of a 210 barrel AST. Those have 10-foot diameters and 15-foot heights on average. And then the bottom pictures, that's a 400 barrel AST, and on average those have 12-foot diameters and 20-foot heights. Therefore, two of the three main AST sizes that you typically see contain brine water or hydrocarbon liquids are now exempted from the AST Act, and therefore the above ground storage tank rule 47 CSR 63. This was clearly a huge win for the oil and gas industry, but I now question if these tanks will now fall into disrepair, creating a scenario like the Freedom Industries spill, as the oil and gas industry does not have the best environmental record when left unregulated. There was even talk of excluding all ASTs containing brine water or hydrocarbon liquids less than 10,000 gallons. But that was not added to the final version of this bill. But I could see that being a future exemption from the definition of above ground storage tank in the AST Act, as tanks keep getting taken out of this rule. So I think that's a concern going forward. For your time, and thanks for watching.